Hello everyone. Today we're going to be looking at how to visualize and break down a surface. This should really give you the skills necessary to look at an image and get a good visual feel for the surface. Where do we have indents, creases? How long are those creases? How long are those rounded areas? What type of shape is it that we are looking at? So we're going to be doing this with contouring. And contouring, you might look at it a little differently than what you would think, the traditional art way of looking at contour drawing. This is looking at the actual contours of a surface. And I've got a little video up here with some images on it. And, you can look at this and see how these lines, these marks, these gestures sell us the shape, allow us to really see it and understand it. Okay, now I know that when I go to create this, I'm going to see where I have a crease, where I have a flat spot, where I need to put a little bit more round shape to it, how I need to taper that off or blend it to something else. Okay, now to do this, we could sketch these, but we're going to use Photoshop because Photoshop has a beautiful pen tool, and it really makes it nice. And you can see here we get some really nice clean lines and help us see this. And this can be done for anything. You can see it on a car here, but we've got it on a face, which we'll be looking at in a little bit. Here's a body. Again, it's just something that I like to do to get a good read on a surface, what I'm about to create. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Photoshop here. I've got a couple images, okay, that we're going to look at. And the first one here, this is what we're going to be working with. Nice draped fabric, very organic surface. It's got a lot of shape to it. And wrinkles, fabric itself, just like skin, it's got different weights to it, different properties that are going to really tell it, how much are we going to bulge, how much are we going to crease, and whatnot. So to get a good read on that surface before I try and create it is going to be important. Basically when I'm looking at this, how do I start figuring out what's what or what is important and what's not important? And I'm going to use a little program called OmniDazzle. This is not inside of Photoshop, so I just want to let you know that. Just because if you're looking for this option, you're not going to be able to find it. But OmniDazzle allows me to draw on the screen. Great little program. I use it a lot. But, looking at this surface, I get these really nice, easy to see lines, right? And I can tell the movement of this. Where are my directions? Where are these wrinkles being formed, how they drape. Okay, so if I'm going to contour it here, here I'm looking at just these major lines. Okay, so that would be like my first approach to getting an understanding of contours and the shape of a surface. The second types of lines I'm going to look at are almost like cross-section lines. And if you're not familiar with cross-section lines, I'm going to go ahead and erase that. And then I'm going to show you this image. This I got from Anatomy for Sculptors. It's a great resource. It's Anatomy for Sculptors. We use it a lot. It gives you good reference of the body. But it's got these awesome images, cross-sections of the torsos. And they do cross-sections of the arms and hands and everything. Because a lot of times people can see this outer silhouette. They do a really good job with that outer silhouette. But they have a hard time visualizing what it looks like around a surface. So this is where the cross-section idea really comes into play. And you can see that the body from different portions or different parts being cut, you get a much different shape, male and female. And again, this exercise will really help you digest that information. So if you take cross-sectioning and you look now at these wrinkles, what's it going to look like if I slice through this fabric and really get a chance to look at it from this angle? If I just cut through that and I can see it, I'm going to see where these shapes are going to be, how they're going to bulge, where they're going to move. And again, going into recreation, I'm going to be able to better recreate a believable surface. And that's going to be a key word, believability. Okay, so how do I get this set up? And I would do this in 2 passes, and I would use Photoshop because it just produces a nice, clean image. So I'm going to go in here and just make a couple layers. The idea here in Photoshop, whenever you're using it, more layers, more freedom. You can do the 1 layer per contour, or you can put them all on one. It just makes it harder to do alteration when you're done. And I'm just going to go on the paths. And I'm going to do the same thing. I like to give myself a couple paths here so I can work and have different paths per contour line. Okay, and the beautiful thing about doing it this way is if I don't draw it correctly, if I mess that up with my brush, I can adjust my path. Right? Always getting that freedom of adjustment. I can adjust my path, hit the path again with a brush, and then I'm going to see better what it is that I created. So, or not really see better, I'm going to be able to get a better result because I'm able to alter it. So really, you're going to be jumping back between paths and layers, okay, to accurately do this. And I would start off with the easy one. So I'm going to go on my path, make sure I have one of these layers selected. And if you want to rename them, you can for better organization. But since this is just a demo, I'm not going to get into that. And then I want to make sure that I have a layer selected that I want this path to work with. So I've got path 7. I'm going to go over here. And it doesn't matter, path 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever. Just saying that I have a path selected. I'm going to use the pen tool. The pen tool's got a lot of hotkeys, but you know, we're going to just get into it and start using it. So where do I start? Well, the first place I'm going to start is hitting these main areas. Again, almost like tracing the obvious. Okay, so if I wanted to kind of hit up this one, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to add some different tangents. So I'm just clicking and dragging there. And again, this is very reminiscent of how geometry evaluates based off of where vertice points are placed. A little bit of a change there. And we'll go ahead and finish it there. Okay, and if I hover over, you can see that my icon does change from a plus to a minus. So if I want to add a point or take away a point, I can very easily do that. And because I'm really trying to make this as accurate as possible, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in, right? Looking at it from far away doesn't make much sense. So I'm going to make sure that I'm looking at the line. And these lines will be harder to see at first, but once you start putting marks on them and zooming in, you'll be able to see them a lot better. Okay, so we've got that. And again, with the pen tool active, and you could use the custom pen tools, but I'm going to go ahead and just use hotkeys as I go through, because at some points I might need to adjust something. So I'm just going to do a little bit of adjustment. I'm using the command key here just to move some points around and alter the tangency of that point. And you can see here, having a little bit of trouble, so I'm going to pick that tangent up so we get a better sweep. I'm going to move to another section, and right here we're falling away from that point, so I'm going to move that up. And again, the goal here is it's for your benefit in recreation. You know, I really need to make sure that these are on point, so I'm getting the most accurate representation of this surface as possible, so I know that I understand the surface. I know that, you know, I'm making a good mark, a good gesture. It lets me know that I know the surface and I'm seeing it the way it really is. So you can see this main line here, and you know, I think it's following pretty nicely, but you know, I may not be able to see all that well, so I'm going to go ahead and add a stroke to it. So again, making sure that I have the right layer selected, and then going to paths. I'm going to go on there and I'm going to right click, and you'll see stroke path. But before I stroke the path, I want to make sure that my brush is set up, because when you stroke a path, you're really going off of whatever your brush settings are. Okay, so I'm going to come over to here. Let me just cancel that, because I already know that my brush isn't quite set up the way I want. So let's pick something nice and visible. We'll go with that nice red. And then I want to make sure that my brush is the right size. Okay, so we're going to set up some stuff in the presets. Okay, so let's take care of size first. And again, this is something you can change. We're going to try 5 pixels. We're going to see if that works out. Nice hard brush. I don't want to go too soft. Again, it makes it harder to read. But we got the 5 pixels. Now we can go into shape dynamics. And if you look down here, you'll see that you've got kind of an example of what the brush is going to look like. But if we activate shape dynamics, you'll see that we get a much different setting there. Okay, much different look at what that thing is going to look like, what my brush stroke is going to be like. Okay, and now there are some options inside of shape dynamics. Okay, control to pen pressure. Okay, and then I can set my maximum diameters, so I can kind of, if I don't want it to fade too much, I can change that, right? Because if it fades too much, you might lose a little bit of readability of your contour line. So I really want to kind of make sure that that's looking the way I want. And you know what? If it's not, or it changes, you just fix it later on. But we want to see what it's going to do. Let's just get something on screen, see what it can do, see what it looks like, and then we will evaluate it and make any corrections that we need. So I've got that nice path. We've got my layer selected. Let's go ahead and stroke it and see what we get. So we're going to go brush. Now watch out, sometimes this does default to pencil. Just make sure you're on brush and then hit OK. Okay, so there we've got that on there. I'm going to zoom out a little bit just to kind of see what it looks like on screen. All right, so we evaluated. Are we getting a good read? Are we not getting a good read? Okay, I think it's working pretty nicely. If I don't want it or don't like it, just undo it. Change your brush settings. Let's go with something that's a little smaller. Let's try 3 pixels. Come back over to here, path. Make sure you have a layer selected. Stroke path, double check that it's still on brush, and hit OK. All right, so this one though is almost a little too hard to read. Okay, you can see the line, but it might be a little bit difficult. So this is where you're going to want to maybe change it per need. All right, so your brush will be altered when you need. If you need a thicker line, you need a thicker line. If you need a thinner line because there's a lot of detail, then you go with a thicker line. So I'm going to say I like that. That's looking good. All right, and I would go through the entire image and I would look for these main lines. Okay, so I'm going to switch to OmniDazzle again. This is not the pen tool, it's OmniDazzle. And I'm going to maybe investigate a couple of these other types of contours. These major, clean, clear-cut type edges, right? So I'd go through the entire object, and I'd be doing this with the pen tool inside of Photoshop. But I would go through and I do pass one, and once pass one is complete, I go in and I look at the other one. So let's take a look at a cross section, okay? And again, that cross section is, if we slice through this fabric, what type of a shape are we going to get? And actually, you know what, before that, let me go ahead and quickly do a couple more in this area. I'm going to go ahead and draw in a couple more contours, kind of connect these wrinkles together. So I'm going to select my path, pen tool. I'm just going to go in here. And if I just click and drag, it does change it from a hard contour to a softer contour. All right, so if I like that one there, I'm going to go in and do some adjustments. If I like it, I would keep it. But I'm going to, again, want to do some adjustments there. The way I look at it is if I can make it better, why not? I'm just adjusting, taking my time. Okay, so if I like that line, I think that's a good one. I'm ready to come over here, switch to another layer, go to my path, right-click, stroke path, make sure that we've got brush, hit it, and we've got that nice little stroke there. Okay, and then I would continue, go to the next one, draw another path, stroke that path once I liked it. If I don't like it, undo the stroke and adjust it. Okay, but let me do a different type of. Let me do a contour. Okay, and I'll contour through one of these sections here. Just going to look for a nice section so you can really see what it is I'm doing, or get a feel for what it is I'm doing or why I'm doing it. I think we'll just go through here. Since we're right there, we'll keep on going through there. So I'm going to go in with my pen tool. Make sure I'm on a new path, and I would take this. I'm just showing a localized example of what I would be looking at, but I'm going to go in here and put as many points as you feel that you need to describe that surface. You can always add more, you can always take away, so you're not dead in the water if you make a choice that maybe isn't the most effective. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there because I think you'll get the point. Okay, and I'm going to go through. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so I can really see this. Okay, and then I've got my tool, and I'm just going to go in there and start making some adjustments. So I really want to say this is the most accurate surface replication or visualization I can get. Okay, now right here you see that I dropped in a point. It's got a very hard tangent because I'm trying to maneuver it and it's just not working out well for me. If this happens, if you don't like it, you can hold the Alt key down and you're going to get the convert point tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and redraw that one a little bit. And just clicking on it and dragging that icon. And if you're having a hard time seeing, zoom in some more. Right here we got a little bit of a peak. A bit of an indent. Okay, and another important thing to remember is we can do whatever we want when we want. So if I realize that I don't have enough of these points to control my curve, I make the choice to add another one. Okay, so you can add as many as you need to accurately depict that surface. Okay, and sometimes you won't know exactly how many that is until you're actually into the adjustment. So I'm going to go ahead and drop in another one there. I feel like I can get a little bit more description on that part of the surface. I think that's reading okay. This one here, going to bring it down so we get a little bit more of that peak. Dropping down. I think right here we need another one. Fabric is really beautiful the way we get that nice tear dropping everywhere. And I'm going to switch to OmniDazzle here again just so we can get it. But all of this stuff, it bends in and then out, giving us that teardrop, right? It's usually, you know, a characteristic of skin and fabric. Really sells the organic feel and the weight of those surfaces. Okay, you know, but I can go in there and just keep on working with this line, keep on tweaking it, you know. But again, for demonstration purposes, I'm going to go ahead and say that I like it. And then I'm going to go in and add a stroke to the line. Because remember, sometimes I can't see this little thin line. I need to go ahead and stroke that line first and then say, I like it or I don't like it. Then do your evaluation. The goal here is keep moving forward, right? So I'm going to go through, stroke path, take a look at it. All right, looking pretty good. I'm getting a nice read on that. Let me go ahead and zoom out to really get a look at what I'm seeing. Okay, so we look at it and we say, am I getting a good descriptive line, a descriptive stroke for that shape? Is it working? Is it not working? If it's not, undo it, go in there and adjust your path a little bit more, then restroke it. The goal here is to really evaluate, to do it again and again and again and get the best gestures you can for that surface. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at another image really quickly. You can see, human face. You will be able to choose, different images to contour. So on this, the human face, same thing. I'm going to go in there and add some path layers. I'm going to go in there and add some other layers just so I can get, freedoms here to create different types of things. And the first path, again, looking at those major contour lines, those major features. What are the, hey, there it is, no-brainer lines, okay? Right? What are these edges that we really, I see them, they're there, they're obvious, around the eye. Okay, what are these traceable features? Okay, get those out of the way, then move into your secondary forms. What type of arcs do we have from the eyelid coming out and then down for the eyelid, and then a little bit of bulge for the bag structure, and then we pick up some meat in the cheek, and then we get this nice teardrop for the laugh line, right? Thinking about that cross section. So again, just to reiterate, hitting it up with pass one, hitting your main lines, and then going in and hitting up the secondary lines, those cross-section lines. Once you do that, you should feel pretty confident that you have a really nice read on the surface. It might take 30, 40, 60 lines, 60 gestures to really show that you understand the surface. Don't be afraid to add enough in there to hit those main sections. We don't want it too cluttered to where we can't see any of that shape, or it becomes hard to read, but there are lots of places that need description. A lot of these lines, a lot of these contours. So give it your best, have fun with it, and we can't wait to see what you turn out.